A new Cobra driver has hit the market, and with it comes the most adjustable hosel in golf. We'll talk with master fitter Tyler Fitzel about everything that comes with the FutureFit33 on this episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. Hey golfers, welcome on into the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. I'm Sean Bauer. Drew Mahold's out of town this week, but he'll join the show later for an interview with Tyler on the Cobra DS Adapt new hosel, the FutureFit33 33 unique loft and lie settings. By far the most adjustable hosel across golf. We'll talk with Tyler Fitzel. You're going to hear from him and just everything that this means and what it means for fitters, and more specifically what it means for you golfers and how it can help, find that exact setup for your golf game. So make sure you stick around for that interview as we'll dive deep into the FutureFit33 Hosel. But before we get there, let's head into the turn. Busy week on the golf schedule. You had the Grant Thornton Invitational. It was a LPGA, PGA event. You had, female and male teams. And the winners were Patty Tavatanakit and Jake Knapp. They went wire to wire, two former UCLA Bruins. And cool thing is when Jake won the Mexico Open, I think back in February or whatever, Patty actually won a tournament that same weekend as well. And so now they get to team up together for the first time and pick up a win there. So big win for them. Looking into their bags, Patty is primarily, actually just all the way through, a Titleist player. She stays with the TSR line in her woods, going TSR2 with her driver and her 3 and 5 woods. Then she's got a T200 4-iron, T100 5 to pitching wedge, SM10s, and then plays a squareback 2 prototype for her putter. But Jake Knapp, now his bag is a little more interesting. He goes back, to the Ping G425 LST, same driver he's had in his bag all year. But a little change here. He, was playing the TaylorMade burner mini driver. He now has swapped that out for a PXG prototype mini driver. Of course, he is a PXG player, so obviously liked what he saw there. But he does stay with TaylorMade for his TaylorMade QI10 5-wood. Plays the PXG 0317 STs for his irons. Mixture of wedges, some PXG and some Vokies in there, and then a new putter. He had been playing a TaylorMade Spider, and kind of similar to his mini driver, he switches from TaylorMade to PXG, going with a prototype there. Very similar looking to a TaylorMade Spider in terms of its shape, but just an interesting note there. Also going on in the golf world, Q School, 6 players earned their PGA Tour cards. It's one of the coolest events, but it can also be one of the most excruciating events. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But Lanto Griffin and Hayden Buckley, both tour players, got their cards back. Takumi Kanaya, a very, very good Japanese player, earns it. Alejandro Tosti, Will Chandler, and Matthew Riedel all making it as the top 5 in ties qualify. But so great for them, but then there's the other side where, guys just miss on getting their PGA Tour card, and one of those is Alistair Doherty. He's a Barstool Sports golfer. He missed it by 1 stroke here at the Q School, and that follows after at the Korn Ferry Tour Championship. He missed earning a PGA Tour card by 1 stroke. So just, that's golf, and that's why this game is so difficult, and it can, Q School and earning your cards is such a big deal, these guys, because it's hard. And, Doherty there missing it twice by a stroke. Tough break there, but he had a very good season on the Korn Ferry Tour. See if you can build off of that, but that just shows you, the nature of the beast of this sport that we all love is that it's awesome, but it can break your heart too at the same time. So a lot of good stuff there. But yeah, let's moving on. Let's move right into Cobra came out with the first, pretty much the first driver of the launch season, coming out last week with the DS Adapt series. It's a build off of their Dark Speed lineup, but now it's just all about the amount of adaptations you can make with the club, both with movable weights in the heads, But more importantly, it's the FutureFit33 Hosel. As we mentioned earlier in the show, 33 unique loft and lie settings. It is absolutely incredible that we can do that. I mean, you've seen, other companies like Titleist, they have 16 combinations, so this is more than double that. Truly just going to allow players to really, find that exact setting for their game. And it's, should be a really big addition for Cobra. I think the drivers themselves, little improvements from the dark speed, a little softer face perhaps, gives you a little softer feel at contact, but ultimately it's just about making fitting these easier for you. And who better to talk about it than our very own master fitter, Tyler Fitzel. He sat down with Drew to talk all things Cobra DS Adapt, and more specifically, the FutureFit33 Hosel.
Okay, we now welcome on the Second Swing Thoughts podcast, Tyler Fitzel, Master Club Fitter here at Second Swing. It's kind of an important one here because, with obviously we'll talk a little bit about the Cobra Dark Speed Adapt, and we will through the next several weeks here. But they made a kind of a groundbreaking advancement when it comes to adjustability, and so that's what I wanted to ask you about and get your perspective on was this whole new, FutureFit33 Hosel. I'm looking at the chart right now. There are 33 unique loft and lie settings.
Yeah.
Which is way more than you've ever had at your disposal in terms of, an adjustable hosel. So I guess just give me your first impression, first reaction to what this system and what, it will mean for you in a fitting.
As a fitter, it's the fine tuning. Mm-hmm. It's the ability to, even on this chart, you'll notice you can increase the loft by 0.3 degrees, 0.7 degrees, 1.4 degrees, 2 degrees. It's this opportunity to fine tune exactly what we're looking for. And having the opportunity to do so looks confusing maybe because of the size of the chart and how many numbers there are, letter combinations, where do I need to be with this? It's not confusing if you find the right area, you get into that, and then you go play. Because ultimately, all of the companies are trying to get something like this. Cobra's come out with what is the most complete and adaptable, if you will. I mean, that's the whole name of it, right? Is the adapt. They're trying to get a product that fits everyone better, no matter who you are, no matter whether you hit it on the toe or the heel, high or low. You have an opportunity to really fine tune this. And when we look back in adjustments in general, there are very few companies in the market that are selling drivers that are non-adjustable, right? That I think adjustability was the major breakthrough in driver technology at one time.
Yep.
And that adjustability, along with being able to move the weights, is now the standard for every company. Cobra's being able to do it the most complete, the most number of options, the most number of fine-tuning, whether it is the weights, the weight position, it's the shaft, it's the Adapt 33. So you've got this future fit to dial in every which direction.
It's crazy to think about because I was actually having a conversation. I think this was with another fitter a couple weeks ago, and it was just this idea of, because I think a lot of people are going to see the number 33 and they're going to be like, that's a lot. Like it is. It's almost too many. But then you look back at how driver adjustability has advanced in really the last 15 years or maybe even longer, where you first started seeing there was this idea that, moving adjustable weights in the head was crazy to think about.
Right.
And then the Hosel stuff, crazy to think about. And it was like, this is way too confusing. This is too much. It's not going to latch on. And so now this is maybe another step in that direction where it's like, this is a lot. Like you look at the chart, you see 33 circles.
Yep.
You got things going which way, and it's not necessarily all like, you have for example, the increments. It's 0.3, 0.7,
right,
then 1, then 1.4.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit. It's not totally, I guess, symmetrical, if you will, all the way up and down and around. So there's kind of this look of like, this is a lot and it's kind of jumbled a little bit, but I have a feeling in a couple of years it's going to be like, this is it's just a really good way to adjust a driver.
Yeah. I look at it this way. Adjustments in a driver are a fitter's best friend, because what it does is it allows me to find what works well for you as the player, as the customer. And it also allows us to change. So I'm a big proponent. I talk about this all the time. There's technique and technology. All right. If your technique is going to change, it's going to change because on a day-to-day basis, your body's different, your swing's different, things change. But this allows me to change the technology with it. And it's an advantage because it makes that one club that we might buy last a lot longer based on how we're moving, how we're swinging differently, how our bodies feel. It could literally be, I don't want to say it's like, okay, a windy day, let's knock the loft down versus a non-windy day or things like that. But literally, we know that even in launch conditions, okay, if you go to a place like Arizona, we're in Minnesota, and you go to a place like Arizona, that has atmospheric differences. It has altitude differences. It has temperature differences. Yeah. That matters on ball flight. And if you really want to go fine tune something, you would make that change depending on what you're seeing with it. And it's important to note that in the end, when we talk about whether this club is a good fit, it's a good fit if it allows to change that fit as well. And this is giving us the most options with it.
Yeah, I think, like, for example, it could even be, maybe there's golfers listening to this that maybe they're a 10 or 20 handicap, and to your point, their swing might change from round to round. Yep. They're going out to play with their buddies one Saturday morning. They're hitting some range beforehand, and with their driver, they're thinking, "No, this is weird. I'm hitting this kind of low pull hook, and that's my tendency right now. And I've hit 15 range balls, and it's the same thing every time. All right." Let me pull up the chart quick. Let's go to B6, all right? Yep. This will open up a little bit, and it'll increase loft. I can hit it higher. I can hit it more right, and it'll fight that tendency I have right now. Simple. And go out to the course and play, and you're going to see it. So there's that advantage that I think in general, there's a lot of golfers that don't take advantage of the Hosel settings that there are available now. With name your brand, there's something there. But this now, as we even talk about fittings, for example, if you're fitting a player that has, maybe there's 3 options, they're all pretty close in performance in the bay. Yeah. Whether maybe it's Cobra, TaylorMade, Callaway, or whatever, name your 3 brands, but Cobra's in there and it's close, and the golfer doesn't have a preference on how it looks or anything, and it's pretty close. You might say, okay, this Hosel has the most possible adjustments. Yes. By default, that's going to be the tiebreaker.
It can be, and that's one of the things we talk about in a fitting. So let me just quickly talk about how I would go about this in a fitting. We start with the middle, which is A1. And from there, what I like to do is I kind of like to go to the corners. So for instance, is if I need to go, do I need to go more loft where it's open, or more loft where it's closed? Do I need to go less loft open or less loft closed? So in many ways, given the tendencies or the consistencies that you have with a player, even if you're all over the face, if you have a predominant shot pattern, I can take half of these settings out, and I can probably boil this down to kind of a quarter of these.
Yeah, right.
And so even if we're talking like someone that has that maybe needs to help go a little bit more left, okay, we've got that. Someone that needs the ball in the air a little bit more, we got that. We have weights, so I need a little bit of weight forward to reduce some spin, we've got that. When you start looking at all these options, we're probably living in the same 4,
quadrant.
5, 6, maybe possible options to that. But what happens when it's like, let's just start over? We can completely throw it to the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And start working on maybe something different or something new in that light. It gives us options. And with 33, in terms of it, one of the things you talk about is like the lie angle a lot. Lie angle for the golf ball can shift the idea of where that contact is made. So that's important. Loft is really important because lofts get that ball in the air. And usually when the ball's going up, it goes a little bit straighter. So we have to make sure that we are looking at the loft and the lie angle. And this provides us more options than any on the market.
And I think there's also a mental aspect, at least maybe this is kind of why some of the golfers are a little apprehensive to even make these adjustments in the first place is because a lot of times nowadays, especially with the hosels that maybe have 8 settings. Now these 8 settings are great to have, and they certainly can help your game if optimized the right way. But you make a tweak with that type of hosel, you're going to see it when you put the club at address.
Yes.
You are going to see how that club sits different, the lie angle is different. You're going to see more loft if you add loft. You're going to see it. With this, you can make a subtle enough adjustment where, it might not be a drastic difference in the performance, and you're also not going to see, though, the difference when you put it down. Like, it's going to be minuscule enough, probably. Like, if you go from B6 to B7, you will get a little bit more loft and maybe a tiny bit more launch on your shot, but you probably won't see the 0.4 degree difference in loft that is actually being added to the club.
Yeah, that's one of the things in a fitting I always look at too is just looking at the idea of, okay, I need more launch. Loft, launch usually adds spin. Where am I looking to gain in something? Because it might be something where it's like you already launch it high, great, but you don't spin it enough. But we can add a little bit more of that. We can change the weighting around a little bit more. If we increase the spin, now all of a sudden it stays in the air longer. You pick up 5-10 yards. It's carrying it over that bunker, and so now I get carried over that corner, things like that. That's where the advantage comes in. And there's always at the end of the day the customer, the player, they have to feel confident in what they've got. Getting something like this where you've got so many options, it can change that confidence pretty quick because it's like, okay, well, this really isn't working for me. And I always like to talk about patterns. Find patterns. If you find a pattern and you have the ability with something like this FutureFit33, it's like you can change the pattern.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we want. We want to get out and hit the ball more consistently. And I think with all the options we've got, we have a much better chance of doing it.
So I kind of wanted to ask you now, sort of in the general landscape of adjustable hosels. I think for the most part, as it stands right now, as we're recording this, most hosels have around 8 settings to adjust. There's a little bit of a difference as to the configuration there and where, for example, I think TaylorMade has like the upright settings. Ping has the settings to go flat. So with that said, though, in how much of is this now going to give Cobra another edge in driver fittings or even fairway wood fittings, whatever it might be, because of all these extra options that you have at your disposal in a fitting?
Well, I think one of the things that I noticed from a fitter's perspective is I really just needed like a half a degree. I didn't need a whole degree.
Right. And sometimes that's the only option, depending on the club, is a whole degree. If
I'm at 10.5 degrees because the standard loft on that is 10.5, but I really just needed 10. And I can get to 10.1 degrees by using the Cobra adjustment. Now all of a sudden I'm just fine tuning that a little bit more. The other side of it becomes whether or not you can create more lie or loft angle. And in this, where you have 2 degrees independent of one another, and that's the important piece to this, is you can kind of keep these independent. There's a few others on the market that do that. Titleist does it independently. Callaway does it independently. But they have fewer adjustments, which mean their independent is maybe not quite as large a change.
Yeah. Right?
So where, yes, you can go 1 or 2 degrees, you also don't have the fine-tuning in the lie angle to make that look... because when you set it down on the ground, you still have to have something that looks good.
Yeah, yeah.
I favor something that kind of looks open. I need loft.
Yeah.
Because when the ball's in the air, it just goes farther. Well, if I get something that I add loft to, but it makes it look a little bit more closed, right? So I'm kind of closing that angle. Now I look down at it and I go, well, now I have to manipulate this. So in my mind, I'm thinking I need to manipulate it. I feel like I need to. Whereas with some of the others, I can just leave it in a flat position. I can leave it with a little bit more loft, and I can get that to work without having to manually adjust something, right, in my swing.
So another thing I wanted to add to this whole thing, too, because we're talking about, I primarily hear the FutureFit33 Hosel, but Cobra also added a driver to the lineup. So there's now 2 max drivers. So there's Max K, Max D. So I guess there's this idea of adding options for golfers. You have all these Hosel options.
Yep.
We also have another model to add here. And then the Dark Speed from the past generation was awesome. I mean, it's still awesome. The Cobra Dark Speed lineup. And so you're bringing a lot of that technology, some refinements there to that internal power bridge.
Yep.
And you have a lineup here of Dark Speed Adapt, woods, driver, fairway wood, whatever it might be. It has a really complete package, all things considered. You have a model for every golfer. You have a Hosel adjustment for every type of swing, it seems like.
Yep.
Cobra seems to have done, is making kind of landing a really good punch here to start what will be the 2025 kind of season here.
Yeah. When you look at the lineup, we talk about this kind of, we don't look at all of the clubs from every single company and say, okay, we got to try everything. What we start with kind of where are we in that base? Cobra needs to be in that mix because as we start looking at these drivers, do I need more spin or less? Do I need a little bit more forgiveness? Do I need, they've got the model that they talk about as the K or the 10,000 K. Do I need something that goes straighter? There are so many different models to go with it, but now having fine-tune adjustment with it, you're talking about, generally speaking, they have a pretty good look to them. So there's some different shapes depending on the models. You see something a bit more rounded or traditional, something with a deeper face, something with a thinner face. You start looking at overall the package that they delivered, and then you go to Cobra and say, now they've done it in their fairway woods and their hybrids as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just, okay, my driver's got there. Now what? We have different models and the FutureFit33 that is adaptable even in other fairway woods and hybrids. Huge advancement there, because I think about fairway woods is they've pretty much just been bonded. There haven't been a lot of adjustments to it. We've started to see them become a little bit more adjustable. But I think this loft sleeve that we get on here is huge because it allows us now a bigger chance at adjustment with fairway woods, with hybrids. So someone that may have said, I really needed a 3-wood. Well, now we have a 3-wood that we can actually get some loft because you might have been struggling with a little bit of launch to it, could have been struggling with a little bit of direction to it. So, an even bigger plus for us as a fitter to offer options for the consumer.
It's a pretty crazy advancement because suddenly, the most you had, if someone was coming in is like, I just want the most adjustable Hosel, which I'm sure is pretty rare that you would get that. But it was Titleist with the 16 options on the SureFit Hosel. And now you get double that with the FutureFit here. So, and to your point, I think another piece I didn't even think about until you mentioned it, a few minutes ago, was that the Cobra, Dark Speed Adapt woods now are suddenly they're probably going to be in players' bags for a long time when they get fit for them, because in 3, 4, or 5 years, if you're maybe struggling with driver, something's not quite right now, you've been playing Dark Speed Adapt for a few years, instead of automatically going, well, I might need a new one. We could toy with all kinds of different settings and probably find something that's going to fix, whatever's going on with you. And this goes driver, fairway wood, and hybrid. That's
what I've had in my own game. I played Cobra. I've had a couple different Cobra fairway woods as well as drivers in the past. But with the fairway woods, they were lower lofted, right? So one of the models was 14.5. Another one was at 13.5. I really liked it because I liked that as a tee shot, but struggled a bit more to utilize those off the fairway. So one of the things that would give me an advantage now is I can get into a 15 that I can take down to 13 or take up to 17. I can make it the lie angle look where I want it to look, and now all of a sudden it can be either or both for me, right? And I think that's a great point. When we're doing fittings, we're not looking to try to fit you every single year into a new product. We're trying to find a product that's going to work with you, and like I mentioned, going with your technique and technology, can I give you something that's going to go out 3, 4, 5 years before we've made some other adjustments in technology, before the engineers and the companies have found something? On a year-by-year basis, there are small refinements. If you haven't upgraded your driver in 5 years, this could be the best thing that you've ever hit. If you upgraded your driver maybe last year, there might be something about this that gets you a little bit more in certain areas, but we're looking at kind of the big hit, which is over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
We also know that let's be honest, the cost of these have not gone down. And with Cobra, if you have a driver that's going to last a bit longer in terms of its functionality or that technology,
Right.
well, it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, it's totally easier
to go for a driver, a fairway, and a hybrid.
to drop the money that's required.
That you're going to have for a longer period of time. Yeah. I think about, like, as an example in my own world of the people that I know that I've known for 15, 20 plus years in the golf world. And they're not changing clubs because maybe part of it is the cost side of it. Well, you don't have to with this. You have that initial upfront cost. You've gotten, upgraded in technology, but now you have the ability with this 33 position to make that work longer for you.
Yeah, that's
a lot longer.
That's a piece I didn't consider, but it certainly makes a lot of sense because, when you're spending $600+ on a driver, fairwoods now can be $400+. To have it, to have this piece on it, now it's going to last longer because there's more options to try with how your swing changes over time. So, the Cobra Dark Speed Adapt series is here. You can go get fit for it, and then also our fitters can get you dialed in for the FutureFit33 setting that fits your game currently. Yeah. And also maybe educate you on what settings you might be, needing to change to as things change because the swing will change. That's how golf happens. If you play a lot of golf, that happens. But a lot of cool stuff here. So Tyler, thank you for the time today. Thank you for educating us a little bit on this, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this does in 2025.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, that was Tyler and Drew talking everything on the FutureFit33 Hosel. Just some awesome stuff there. And if anything, what this Hosel is going to show you is that it makes getting fit even more important because there are so many settings and so many ways that Hosel can improve your game, give you a little more consistency, off the tee with your fairway woods or your hybrids. So really just stresses the importance of that, and who better to go with than go schedule a fitting with Tyler and have him fit you for a DS Adapt or, any clubs right now. But yeah, Cobra DS Adapt, you can pre-order them online at secondswing.com and, get fit for them at any of our Second Swing stores. On the YouTube side, if you're tuning in today, well, you probably tuned in yesterday. We had Kevin Kraft on for our Dinner with a Winner, our third episode of the series. Kevin is... he's one of the great personalities in golf and at Second Swing, and what a fantastic episode out at Surly Brewery in Minneapolis. If you haven't been to Surly Brewing, I would check that out. They got a great selection of craft beers. But yeah, Kevin goes through everything from, his days competing on the Corn Ferry Tour to overcoming some, challenges through golf, and then finally into the qualifying for the U.S. Senior Open. Plus, he'll share some of his favorite beers with you. So really good conversation there. Make sure you check that out. Dinner with a Winner with Kevin Kraft on the YouTube channel. And on the Second Swing side, DS Adapt is available for pre-order, as is the Lab Oz 1i. And then still, the holiday season is right around the corner. Make sure you check out, our delivery dates. We guarantee delivery by the 24th for your favorite golfer. Check out our exact dates and times online to make sure that you're if you're ordering a golf gift, it gets to your favorite golfer on time. And make sure you check out our selection while you're there too. Cobra Dark Speed, it's a generation old now that DS Adapt is here, but you can get over $300 off on a Cobra Dark Speed driver. So for the technology you're getting, a lot of bang for your buck there. Also Mizuno JPX 923 Tour and forged irons going at incredible rates. So make sure to check that out. And with no Drew here, we're gonna take a break for a little bit here on Second Swing Finds. Just have a lot more fun when we get to compare. So we'll do those when he's back in the studio. But make sure you smash that subscribe button on YouTube here. Follow us on all social media channels. And let us know if there's anything you want us to discuss on this podcast or, future YouTube videos. You can leave those in the comments. Hope you have a great holidays with all your family and a good time. And we'll see you back here next week.